It's like giving a beat to Jay-Z versus giving a beat to like Drake. It's like the beat is the team, but Jay-Z will do something different that you're not thinking. And I think it's just Pep is on another level.
Where in the world is the long-term future for us if it's not here in the UK?
When he did that, when he slapped Chris Rock, still I haven't watched it. Still I haven't watched since that day a single thing with Will Smith in. I was so annoyed with him.
What's happening, people? Welcome to Whisper It Loudly podcast. I'm Jordan Jarrett Bryan, Black Academic founder and Channel 4 News sports correspondent. You may, if you're watching this, notice that I'm Hugh-less. Hugh will be joining us in a little bit. He's running a little bit late, but he will be here soon. And Darren's just slacking. It's 2 weeks out of 2 now that he's not been here. So, we're just going to write him off at some point soon. So I'm sure he'll be back next week on the pod. Before we get into this week's pod, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast here on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, on all the audio platforms as well, just go to your favorite podcast platform. We are there. We're also across your socials too. We're on Insta. We are now on TikTok. Yeah, we're getting with the kids now. We're down with the kids. Although I don't know if TikTok is just for kids anymore now. No. I think TikTok is like the thing.
My
now,
mum's
so
on there.
There you go. All right. So everyone's on TikTok now. So we are there. Go check us out with Spirit Loudly, and of course on Twitter as well. Right. I've got a special guest with me this week.
Hey, man.
You might have seen and heard the voice there. Marvyn Harrison from BELOVD. What are you saying, brother?
I'm good, man.
You good?
I'm offended that your friends didn't come because I feel like that's the reason why I came.
You scared them away. No. Darren's just doing Darren Lewis things, and Hugh will be here shortly. He just,
of course.
I won't out him, but we're glad to have you. You know what? I feel like I'm doing TV. Let me just angle my body a little bit more towards you, so we can have a chat.
That's what I thought.
I'm being a little bit rude, like man, I'm turning my head a bit too much to the right there. Let's get a bit comfortable. Let's get a bit comfortable. So by now, listeners and viewers, what we do here, we discuss sports / football. That's what we do, but we talk about politics and a little bit of culture and arts and a bit of foolishness as well. So let's kick off now with football. It was a big weekend in the title race.
Was it? What happened?
Yeah, something happened over the weekend. We're both big Arsenal fans. So let's start with Arsenal. They were 2-0 losers at home to Aston Villa. That preceded Liverpool losing at home to Crystal Palace early in the afternoon the same day. City won the day before 5-1. City are top. Mm-hmm. The narrative right now seems to be, Marvyn, that it's now City's going to just romp home and they're going to win their fourth title in a row. It's what they do. First of all, from an Arsenal perspective, what were your thoughts on the game and where you think this leaves Arsenal's chances of winning their first title in like a million years?
It was really sad. I actually turned my TV off. My son saw a side of me that I didn't want him to see. Just
turn the room blue.
You try to keep it together, and then like, you know what it is. The first goal went in, and I was just like, I knew it, because we had the chances in the first half to do it, same as in the first game with them, and they're just good enough to get you. But the sad part is that they played on Thursday, and I was like, nah. They ain't going to be able to. They've had an extra day's rest. They came back on Thursday, probably came back on Friday, 1 day's training, and now they're playing again. We'll be all right. And the first half was good. But this is where I feel not having killers in your team is a problem. And I think we're a very nice team and a very nice club. And we're building an aura. We don't have it. But I think, I don't want to get to comparing to Man City yet, but when I compare to our own great teams, we had a couple of killers. Yeah. Like people, when they're through on goal, it's a goal.
It's done. Yeah.
It's almost like I've been programmed by Thierry Henry's finishing, because I expect the ball to bulge in a particular space when people are through on goal. And so when it doesn't happen, I don't know where the ball is. I'm like, I don't understand. Wait, where did it go? Because
what happened there?
It's not there. It's hard, man. Like I respectfully look at our team and I'm really, really happy with where we are, because I went through that period, that 12 years of nothingness, and now 20 years of no title, but there was 12 years when it was bad.
It was really bad, yeah.
And so I'm really appreciative of what we have, and I can see it and I believe it. What we're seeing, though, is just the level of drop-off in our squad that we have, which is not enough. Because from Manchester City, if you even compare our first 11s, they got probably 3 players that are marginally better, that we have no comparison for. We have no comparison for really Edison. Like Edison for me is vital for them in terms of distribution. We don't have that. If you watch Raya this season, made quite a lot of mistakes at really important times, and we know Ramsey's capable and has done mistakes also. We don't have a De Bruyne. We don't have a Haaland. But also, if you look at their next layer, they just have a standard like 8.5 out of 10 team all across and subs. They have 5 top defenders, 6 top defenders. We've got 3.
Yeah.
So I think now we're showing how thin we are. Rice has gone off the boil. Saka's on red. Odegaard's on red. Our centre-back pairing is holding, and that's probably what's making us still solid. But to raise to the levels we did maybe 3 months ago, I think it's really difficult. It's just really hard to watch. Like, they get you just to believe again.
Yeah.
It's like a toxic relationship where, you know, she broke your heart and then she comes back and then she's like, no. And then she does the things just enough.
Yes.
And then just as you put your guard down, 2-0.
Done. You're done.
So
I think that's a really good way of describing it, because Arsenal are clearly a good team. They're clearly a team that is better than they were last season. I don't think the question is, are Arsenal getting better? The question is, are Arsenal still anywhere near the level of City? So you can be improving year on year, but if you're still 2 levels behind the standard bearers, it doesn't really matter. And I watched that game thinking to myself, the second half was really weird, first of all. It was a really weird second half.
It didn't come out hot.
Yeah, but it was flat and it was weird. But I watched that game thinking to myself, this is too similar to the Brighton game last year. Do you remember the Brighton game last year? They battered us 3-0. I think that was worse. That was what they scored us.
Because they did it from the beginning.
From minute 1, they
putting their foot on the ball and then just like
that was a bad day for Arsenal. But it wasn't too far off that. I want to bring in Liverpool now, because I think they are falling off, but for different reasons.
What do you think the reason is? Because I can't. All the ingredients are there.
I think the reason is it's not quite a bit like Arsenal, a Premier League winning team yet. I don't think you can overhaul your entire midfield in a summer and be good to go. I think that needs another year's gelling before it can potentially be a Premier League winning team. I think also as well, there's a lot of players like Salah that are maybe coming to, they've reached their peak. And I think Salah's still one of the best strikers in the world, no doubt. But I think you're now seeing a Salah that next year, I think you'll see a noticeable dip. And the dip might still be 15 goals.
He won't be here.
Well, that's even if he's still in the Premier League. And I don't know whether Klopp leaving factor has been a blessing or a curse. Because some Liverpool fans would say, actually, him leaving means we want to do it more than ever now. But equally, the energy sap that must take of every home game is must take its toll eventually. What I want to ask you though, Marvyn, is the boogeyman, Pep Guardiola, how big a role do you think his shadow looming over both the clubs, Liverpool and Arsenal, played in both teams slipping up on the weekend?
Honestly, I think this is the realistic level of 2 top clubs. Man City are an anomaly. They're a ghost. You have to understand they have 17 top players and 5 top young players just coming through. They can afford to sell Palmer for 40 million and be like, Remember when they got rid of Gabriel and Zinchenko, and we were like, Man City.
That's a madness.
That's a terrible business decision. And
even last year, to be fair, they sold Gundogan and Mahrez. People thought, that's wild, and they made you another treble, so yeah.
By the way, they signed Kovacic and Nunes, who don't play. It's 100 million.
It's true.
Another 100 million on
Gvardiol.
He doesn't play. He's only recently come into the team in the rotation because other players are injured and tired. We don't have that. Liverpool do not have that. And I think we have a realistic squad of like 13, 14 players, which is what most teams have, of like competitive. But for us, like looking at, you know, when he brought on oh my gosh, under the layer of our first team, first of all, Jorginho isn't mobile enough. So when certain games are happening against us, he ain't the guy. Partey has not recovered from whatever the recovery thing he needed to come to play. And then we look underneath that, like Emil Smith-Rowe has had nominal impact all year. And we can talk about injuries, we can talk about he hasn't had much time. Same for Reece Nelson. Like last year, he had a couple of big moments. He's had no big moments this year. And I just feel like Nketiah is not even worth putting on in the 80th minute.
No.
So there's a lot of like rotation and updating that needs to happen. And it's really difficult to do because Arsenal have made no money from transfer sales basically for the best part of 7 years. We've basically given away the best part of our players to just get them out of the club.
Yeah.
And so we're operating at such a loss financially in terms of rebuilding our team. We've really got to rely on our youth, finding really good gems, and we just haven't really done it. And also, it's like unfortunate about injuries. Like someone like Fabio Vieira, who, when we played Man United to get the third goal, he was the assist to Gabriel Jesus. He's very, very talented, but can't get a run because of injuries or whatever. It's the gap is too big.
So you think it's less about Guardiola being great, it's more about the personnel the team has? Because so I guess what I'm asking is, if a different manager had this same Man City squad, would they be doing what they're doing? Or is it the fact they've got the greatest manager arguably of all time, and if you took away 4 or 5 of those players, they would still do a madness? Which is the bigger factor in what they're doing?
I think the bigger factor is that there's just a gulf in resources and squad, fundamentally. Then Pep is another level. It's like giving a beat to Jay-Z versus giving a beat to like Drake. It's like the beat is the team, but Jay-Z will do something different that you're not thinking. And I think it's just Pep is on another level and has additional resources, which gives them the upper hand. So even when the team aren't teaming, so you remember last year in like December, we were like, lost 3 games.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
4 games.
Yeah.
And we couldn't.
Deal, wasn't it?
We were like, wow, this is finally over. And then like post from literally January the 1st, it was like, all right, guys, we're ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
And this machine kicks in, and it just happens, and they grind teams down, and they're winning games, and you're like, wow. We don't have that. This is the best that I've seen Arsenal in so long in terms of like having for me, I include Ben White, Gabriel and Saliba as like a 3. Them 3, if you find one more of those, it's a problem because they will run through walls. And then we got to figure out this relationship with Raya.
We're hoping that Timber's that 4th one next season.
He could be that 4th one because I think he's. I watched him in pre-season. I managed to see him 3 games in a row, and I was like, he's incredible. So the fact we don't had him all season is a big difference. But for me, you need more. You need 5 because you can't have Tomiyasu out as well.
No.
Kiwior doesn't seem quite up to it. He's been found out a couple of times. Then in midfield, Jorginho can't play another year. I love him, but I think he's a great buy. 15 million, 2 years out of it, or 18 months out of him, but he can't do another year. Like he's just not mobile enough, and he'll get found out. And I just feel like if we refresh those areas and get some support in attack, because I think Saka just gets played way too much for games that he doesn't even need to be in. I think we could compete more, but I think for us, Champions League is our best bet, and I would go all out.
I think the game. The point of recording this now, the game is tomorrow against Bayern Munich, the second leg, and I think Arsenal's going to be a tough game. But I think Arsenal can do it. Just one more thing, finally on Pep, 'cause I just still can't get out of my head that press conference that he did in, I think it was November, post the Wolves defeat, where he said, we are going to win the Premier League. And that still blows my mind because I've never heard a manager say that. They all try to play it down, or there's 4 teams in it. He said with chest, we're going to win the Premier League. And I just wonder if that spooked everybody else. I wonder if that kind of, that level of confidence got into Arteta and Klopp said, oh, rah, he's actually saying it. And if it made, okay, I wonder if the Pep factor is the difference. I accept your point about the squad is just elite, and they've got numbers on numbers.
Yeah,
but I just think the weekend, Liverpool shouldn't be losing at home to Crystal Palace.
No,
I know they lost to the Atalanta the 2 days before that in the Europa League, and Arsenal shouldn't be getting beat by Villa, although Villa are a very good team. And I just can't help but thinking that Pep's in their head. Maybe I'm over egging the point.
I feel like Liverpool are in Arsenal's head.
Okay,
because after they lose, it's all in Arsenal's hand. If they win every game, they win the league. There's no questions about it. Then immediately that's where the pressure comes. When they were 3rd and they had to just keep going, they were knocking results out. The second that it's in their hands, they fall apart. So I think standing at the front is the hardest point to do unless you're Man City and you know what you're doing. And I just think he has every right to say in against Wolves, like, we are going to win the league because all the ingredients are there. Because it's almost like quite obvious. I think we delude ourselves into thinking Liverpool and Arsenal are on the same level because we have to think that. It's not about how you play when you play each other. It's really about how you play when you're just churning out the Everton games, churning out.
And you put 14 games in a row. That's what wins the league.
Battering Luton 5-1 and we're like winning with like 5 minutes to go. Like it's a different thing to go in and go everywhere you're going and just grind out these results and then start battering teams. And I think that's the level when like you're fighting relegation or you're tired. Like if you can't rotate Rice, Odegaard and Saka and just be like, you're chilling today. I've seen De Bruyne on the bench fit.
A lot. If
you can't manage those players, Odegaard has played every minute of every game. He's finishing games in the 97th minute. And he's the one leading the press.
He triggers the press,
So it's just like, if you ain't got two of those, you bring on Emma Smith Rowe and it's like nothing happened. In fact, he was the last man for the second goal and he should have just fouled him.
Yeah, just taking him out.
Just take him out.
Yeah.
But what is going on in your head? Don't ever let it go 2-0. That's a different mentality though.
Just finally on the title race, how does it end for you?
Man City win. I think Arsenal would take second. And then I think, we'll talk about next season. Champions League, I struggle with Arsenal seeing them win it because that side of the draw is mad. Going 2 draws against Man City or Real Madrid. So 2 legs.
Effectively what you're saying, Marvin, is it's going to be a second treble.
Yeah.
Really? Was that what you think?
Yeah, like... Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Kovacic and Nunes do not play. They don't play at all. They come on for games that are like not even. It's like this one go run around. It's mad. No,
it's wild.
Don't. Nunes would be starting for us, like right now. He'll be in the team. Same for Kovacic. So I feel like it's a different level when I accept that now I want this investigation to happen more than ever.
Can we hurry it up, please? Can we just get this going?
Can we just look into it? Like I just want to answer.
Get it done.
It's impossible to maintain.
Let's move on to last night's game. Chelsea won 6-0. They battered Everton. I don't know why that's even surprising because Everton are not very good. But then I guess Chelsea.
They've always been robust though. Losing 6-0 is not an Everton thing. It's not a casual thing that happens.
Well, more importantly, it's not a Dyche thing.
Yeah.
It's not a Dyche thing. You're right there.
I think he's probably had enough though.
It seems to be falling apart over there. But I want to talk about the coverage last night on Sky. They had Dele Alli as the guest on Monday Night Football. I don't know if you saw it or not, but Dele Alli was on. He's obviously played for still an Everton player. I always find it a bit wild when players, even if they're injured, when they're on their contract, are still doing media and press. I don't know how I feel about that, but maybe it's the personal thing. Dele Alli did some decent punditry, I thought, during the game, but he referenced the fact that he'd been receiving a lot of support for the interview that he'd done on Sky and I think on the overlap with Gary Neville, where he revealed that he'd been sexually abused. And I think there's been lots of commentary about Dele Alli, the player and the individual, and some people kind of rowing back on what they were saying about him previously, now knowing that he was going through some personal stuff. And I just wanted to kind of just briefly talk about him and us as football fans and people that work in football media. How do we get the balance right, or how do we do better in the balance of holding and critiquing professionals accountable for doing their job versus remembering the humanity that's required in that these are still human beings that have a life off the pitch. And how do we get that balance right? We don't want to, if someone plays poorly, they should be called out and blasted for that performance. It's their job. But is there too much sympathy now in the sense that because he's revealed what he's gone through and he's had some off the field issues, people are now maybe going to be too scared to critique him and his performances?
No, but I think a lot of the critique went beyond football. And this is the part that people have now strategically forgotten, that the actual dialogue was about him as a person. He's made money now. He doesn't seem to care. He's not making an effort. I can tell you now, I've not met someone in the middle of their profession who just down tools. I don't meet people like that. If something happens, it happened elsewhere and it manifests in them down in tools. You don't go from playing some of the best football you've ever played to the point that you're literally one of the greatest players, you're future of England for 10 years, to like, can't even get up and down the pitch. Something happens. And I think with Lingard, it was a similar thing. With Rashford now, a similar thing. I think specifically there's a thing about black men in football in terms of the culture in which they experience football in, is difficult. It's like life plus the culture plus the media. There's no care, there's no due process. There's not even really, we're not even making it a football issue. It deserved to be a football issue. On merit, he isn't performing. and holding him to account his performances is perfectly fine. But I think it got a little bit personal. It was like your money and like I don't know who's around him and upbringing. This is all coded language. Like you don't hear that about any other white players. You never hear about who's around him and what's he getting into. What does that mean? What are you saying? And the thing is, the fact that he had gone through something in a weird way. If you know, you know. If you've ever met someone who's been abused, you know. You can see it in their body language. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in how they carry themselves. There is a relationship between trauma and performance for sure. And we never acknowledge it. And I think often when we talk about football, punditry, commentary, we don't like the intersect of real life and sport. It's like perform at all costs, win at all costs. We don't want to hear your stories. We don't want to hear that you're depressed, your mum died. And like the way you honor your mum dying is you score and you point to the sky. That's it. Not the fact that like I lost my mum, like, and I don't feel good today, and I'm struggling to be optimistic about training. So I think that culture, the performance culture, especially from fan bases, is just toxic as hell.
I think I'd be a hypocrite to sit here and say that on podcasts over the last 5 years, I have not laid into Dele Alli, and I think also there's an element of did we as football fans overinflate how good he actually was. Dele Alli clearly was a talented football player. I'm not here to say that Dele Alli was never any good. That would be a dumb thing to say. But I think to your point there, where he was held as like the future of the England football team and he was the next star, I never fully bought into that.
But he was a baddest though. He was getting double figures playing behind Kane.
He had two good seasons.
But in football terms, we're talking about day by day analysis. Yeah, for 2 years, talking about someone being good is forever. It's like, we're talking 3 games a week, 2 to 3 games a week.
That's a lot of performances.
It's a lot of performances, a lot of commentate, and then he's doing it on every. He did it in Champions League, he did it international, and he was doing it for his club. He made Tottenham the second best team. Basically, not made him by himself, but he was a massive part of that. So I think it was right to give him the plaudits. But what ends up happening is when things decline, we don't understand why. We don't look into why. It just has to be this kind of simple trope of you don't care or you got money now. It's like that's not how people are motivated. You don't get to that level and then stop because of money. You get to that level and you stop because your demons catch you. And the thing is like football's a very working class football sport. Because Wayne Rooney has also come from a really tough background, and it shows up very much in his life of the time. Every time you hear stories about him, it's like you're in some mad place with a person that you shouldn't be with. Well, how does that happen? How does that happen? We don't talk about it with real nuance. We kind of speak about it as in like, he's just a problem or he's not this. And he's got stuff going on. It's heavy for him, clearly.
So do you, and I think I know my view on this, but you mentioned earlier on that you think it's specifically a black male or black athlete problem. You just referenced Wayne Rooney, who's white. Do you think it's a football problem and people are quick to just bash any good footballer on the rise? Or do you think there's a particular unique disdain that's saved towards black football men?
I think it's specific because I tell you now, Dele Alli won't get free managers' jobs. And by the way, Dele Alli wasn't the level of Wayne Rooney as a football player, but he won't get free managerial jobs to be able to kind of experiment in terms of his manager. It's never happened in a million years. Wayne Rooney is treated with preference because obviously he's very, very good, but there is something about being protected by your own, and he's being protected by his own. He clearly is not fit. Like clearly, like how do you go from being what he was at 16 into being the shape that he is today? And I listened to him on the Overlap podcast. I think he gave a very good account of himself and what he wants to do. That he sounds coherent. I'm not saying he's belligerent or crazy, but clearly there's something where you're not able to look after yourself in that phase of your life. That's a massive transition to go into. I'm not jumping onto him about that. I'm saying I have compassion for how difficult that must be for you to be one of the best players in the world, performing at the highest level of the stage. Your career gets cut short probably 2 to 3 years early, go into management and don't work out. He's on YouTube doing streams with the ginger kid. Why are you doing that? And you're saying you want to be a manager. Who's going to respect you if that's what you're doing, calling him a ginger C word? So when I'm saying these things don't get analysed the same way as it does when it's done by other people, by our community. So we have to currently be aware of the environments we're going into. But if we're really talking about it, we don't hold white men into the same account as we do black men. Black men, it's like, you're flashy, you had a Bentley at training, Yeah, that's the car he holds. What do you want to do? Sell his car to move to Everton? What do you want him to do?
And do you think that football fans will ever get to a point that, because I question whether football fans will ever learn that balance of understanding that you can be passionate about your players and the level of performance your players are giving you. You're paying your money to go and watch these players play. If they're consistently underperforming, you are within your rights to give your opinion. But that has to be leveled out with a level of consideration as to, well, why are they performing poorly? Do you think football fans will ever get that balance right, or because it's such an emotive sport?
No, I don't think they will. Yeah, but my point is that I always try to put a broader context as to why people show up the way they do in football. Yeah, and the reason why that's important is because you will find out more about players, teams, and actually, the what it takes to be successful by genuinely paying attention to real people, rather than be like, I pay you this much a week, perform. If you don't get me 30 goals a season, you're a bum. That's like, it's just this mad extremities of like, if you don't perform exactly how I want you to do in my imagination, you're bum, you're lazy, you're nothing. And I feel like it, and the thing is, it's not really fans, because fans are fans. If you're a fan of something, you're not logical about the relationship with the thing anyway. That's kind of the whole point. My relationship to Arsenal isn't logical. If a person did what Arsenal did to me, I wouldn't be around them. 100%, it's not logical. But I think what my point is that pundits, people who have played the game, who sat in changing rooms with other men and watched them not perform. Like, you look at someone like Forlan, who struggled at Man United, then went to Atletico, and we were like, is he one of the best strikers in the world? How does that happen? And when you start hearing about the culture of Manchester United, maybe that's not for him, but that doesn't make him a bad player. And I feel like if you go to someone like Tottenham, if you go to a certain club, like I always think when big top players go to Chelsea and Man United, I feel sorry for you. Those are not the culture of clubs where you get looked after as a human being. You go there to perform or bust. Lukaku, Di Maria have all like, I ain't going back to, I don't want nothing to do, none of them. Whereas like when you talk about Liverpool, you talk about Arsenal, people go there and they get more out of the players than anybody else can. Havertz would never go to Man United and be any good right now. In a million years would he go to those clubs, because they don't have a culture of care and looking after people. They just have a culture of, you come in, you're responsible, you lead, you win, how Keane talks, and like you have to deliver or get out. And I don't think everyone can live in those types of cultures. So I always say, like, people, especially someone like Lingard, even someone like Dele Alli, you would get more out of him in a much better culture.
Just to wrap on this one, I mean, I always get a bit uncomfortable, and I guess it's a podcast, and podcast job is to talk about things, issues and people, but I always get a little bit uncomfortable in talking about a person's mental state that I don't know. But I thought it was worth, I've always found Dele Alli interesting, because I just think he was a gifted player, but in recent times, I look at him, and I watched him last night on Monday Night Football, and I just still see a guy that's lost. He's talking about making the next World Cup squad. That's it. And I think it's important to have ambitions and targets, and fair play to him for having that. But I'm like, that target is all well and good, but right about now, you're not even fit to play for Everton. So I just look at him and think to myself, are you around the people that can help you in the short term rather than thinking about long-term targets? And I look at, I think to myself, you look lost. You look lost, and you need help. That's kind of what I get.
To me, that sounds like a football psychologist or someone's in his head trying to give him a big long-term goal, and then now giving him the daily steps that he has to do to get to that long-term goal. And so I think he probably shouldn't have said that. But again, that's a part of the news cycle of when you say something out of context, it sounds mad. But if I was coaching somebody and working with anyone that I do leadership stuff with, I would say you need a goal that's like almost absurd. And then what's my
work backwards from there.
What's my annual, quarterly, monthly targets to get there? And then what's my daily behaviors? The daily behaviors is I wake up, I have this routine, and I make sure I look after my body. I eat right, I train hard, and then at any point, by the way, when you have mental health, the cloud can just switch. And you can have a great day, and then a great day can create a continuum of an amazing month. Now you're back in your playing, you're getting minutes. Now you're starting. Now you get by the way, in the England terms, Cole Palmer has gone from being nothing of a consideration.
So now they're chatting about him starting.
If he doesn't, people are like, if he doesn't start, do you know what I mean? So
it can turn quick.
It's 10 games that it all, and Ivan Toney feels like he's falling out of contention because he's gone quite quiet, and Ollie Watkins is still getting goals. Yeah. It's 10 games. So for him, that's not a bizarre thing. And also there's a relationship with knowing what he can do. So all people want to know is like, is his mind right? Does he get back there? And then it's like, oh, hell yeah, come. I'd rather have you in my squad than trying out a new hot 18-year-old that I don't know what he can do. So I think he's slightly miscommunicated, but this is what I mean by like, we've got to be able to take what people are saying, especially when they're not there meaning harm. There's some people who are braggy and bossy and are like, I'm going to be there. And you're like, bruv, if you don't sit down and score goals. But he's like, I'm creating, you can see in his eyes, I'm trying to create a target for myself to get back to myself. Why can't we help him do that? Like, it's fine if he doesn't make it. It doesn't impact us. No. We've got 50 players ready to go anyway.
That is true. That is very true. Okay, that kind of wraps up our football chat for now. I've got a big question coming up next. Welcome back to the Whisper It Loudly podcast. We are, as you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, joined by Hugh Wozencroft, who was an hour and a half late. It's not even like a little bit late. It's just like, we could have done 2 podcasts in the time that you were late.
I apologise, everyone. Obviously, you're watching it and I don't feel late to you because
forget everyone. It's me and Marvyn. Why
are you apologising?
Sorry, but
he's there. There's nobody.
But I also apologise to Jordan.
Works. They haven't had to wait for you. They're just like, oh, kids are going.
To Jordan. Well, I'm apologising for not being here for the first half of the podcast.
Yeah, but the whole point is we can't make it easy. Otherwise, what's the point of the apology? Do you know what I mean?
And Marvyn and Jordan.
Yeah, it's true.
From the bottom of my heart to both of you, I apologise. Unprofessional. And this is why, and we should have had this discussion with Marvyn about, when men grow up, because this is a very childish thing that I've done this morning.
It's a little bit.
And exactly.
You never do this on TalkSport, I'm just telling you that.
The worst thing is,
it's true.
People from TalkSport are 100% like, nah, he does.
That's normal.
We've had to stick producers on air waiting for him to come.
Literally, sorry. I'm sorry. I apologise.
We forgive you. Are you well, first of all?
I'm good. Yeah, all good.
Love that. You've missed the football chat, but that's fine because we'll do that every week, and I'm sure the title race will be where it is next week. You've come into what's going to be a big question, and I'll lead it. Actually, I'll start with Marvyn because you're warmed up. We're seeing what's laughing for.
I'm just stretching out. I'm on the touchline back here.
Some of us have been here,
applauding the crowd as I just come off the bench to start my warm up. Like,
but no, bruv, get to work. Come on, get on with it.
Put down a little bit, bro.
It's a bit of a serious one. We're seeing what's happening all over the world, various wars and more. And we've spoken on the last few weeks on the podcast about lifestyle, quality of life. We talk offline often about whether this is the right place we want to be in terms of the UK. And my question, I guess, to the two of you is, where in the world is the long-term future for us if it's not here in the UK? We are people that our lineage and our family and our heritage are not English and British. But I wonder if there's a time we need to start thinking about, where is happiness? Where is the long-term home for us? And bearing in mind, we're seeing what's happening in America, we're seeing what's happening in the Middle East, even on the African continent, there's just madness happening. The Caribbean is in a very volatile position as well. Marvyn, you first of all, where do you see your long-term future being?
So I have a place in mind, but spiritually I have a connection to just, I am the place. So this is a really important thing. So what happens when you do therapy. I am the place, yeah?
Go for it.
Then there is a clear understanding of like culturally, where do I enjoy? And where am I really open to? And South Africa by far is the best place that I've ever been. I've never been surrounded by so much like positive blackness, creatively, academically, social, even politically. Like one of my friends was just like, yeah, we're starting a party. They're like third in the race right now. Like, it's mad. That's just like, I would sit with him and just talk nonsense all day. And now he's like involved in a party, and we don't have that here. And also you don't understand when you're not in a majority black country, just how much of those signifiers bring you safety. Like when you hear the conversation and you're involved in the conversation, you know that when the 3 major parties are talking about the future of the country, they're speaking to you. It's a fundamental difference. I literally listen to the political discourse and 90% of it just goes over my head in terms of affinity and experience, because none of that stuff means the idea of receiving a PPE contract for 79 million pounds. What? That, who? And you look at the people that have done it and they made bras and now they're making PPE contract and the contract wasn't even fulfilled. And that is actually happening miles away from, in terms of something I can sit down and have affinity with. It just sounds wrong, and I can say it's wrong, but I don't understand how that's happened, how it's even possible. So it's a world of worlds away, and I think psychologically, I think capitalism is very much, on even a global scale, is like terrorism for black people of color. Like we survive in it because we have to. I think as men specifically, we get thrown in the front line because we're the ones that I said we have to make the money. Like our pride and value is based on how much money we make. So we find a way and we do it. But if we ever check it, it's madness. Like the amount of time, hours and effort I spend in trying to make money, I look after probably 30 people's salaries and mortgages. If I don't do that, yeah, that's a lot of people that I have to. So for me, it's like, it's just stress and pressure. Then I went to South Africa and I was there for 3-month periods in 2 years. I got so happy. I was so peaceful. My skin got better. My health got better. Like I was going to the doctors and they were like, yeah, we think we're good. It was like, yeah, so come back in a month and just see. When I'm here, oh my gosh. Also just like energetically, and I don't know how much you read in your own energy, but I'm not the same energy I am when I'm somewhere else.
I agree with that.
And I feel like that is something that people pick up on. And so if you know me here, you know me differently. Like I don't have a desire to go outside. Like I used to wake up, there's a mountain, there's a sea, there's like beautiful palm trees. There's just like stuff to do. You want to walk out into the sun. You start thinking like, do you know what? Today, I'm not going to do that thing I was going to do today. I'm just going to go outside and talk to some people. Here, I'm just like, let me just work. Because if I don't, and I get caught out in an invoice and I'm 1 month behind, I might lose all my shit. So let me just keep working. It's a constant hustle mentality. So I'm not a huge fan of here. I'm here very much for my children at this time, which I'm very, very grateful for. But I know there's better existences. As do you two, I feel like.
Yeah, well, definitely for me. But Hugh, I know that you often feel frustrated with what we are getting in this country, especially as black people. But I guess what I want to know is, do you have an answer in your mind as to where it's better?
This country at the moment is just it's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. If there's that social contract on the table, and like, I don't know, I'll just name countries. It's not me saying that I want to live in these countries, but you know, if Tunisia put a contract on the table, Croatia put a contract on the table, do you know what I mean? Fiji put a contract on the table and Britain put a contract on the table, and you had terms and conditions with all four laid out, you'd be like, Britain's the worst deal.
Britain, Chelsea.
In terms of what I'm paying, do you know what I mean though? In terms of what I'm paying and what I'm getting back, it's the worst deal. Now people will say, and again, I didn't name those countries for a specific reason, so I'm sure people are already going, but Fiji's got this. Yeah. I'm not saying that, I just gave random examples, but what I mean is, because there are great things about this country, they're just not working that well right now. So
what's going on? Which one?
As in, you know, the premise of the NHS is a fantastic thing if you can deliver it properly. We're not delivering it properly.
Yeah.
And at the moment it doesn't work. So there's no point. That's one of the big pluses of living in the UK. The education system was world leading. You know, and it was one of the great reasons to stay in this country. Your kids are going to get a good education. You could send them to a state school, be competitive with anywhere else on the world. That's fallen behind as well. And those were two major things. The other one, well, I won't give anything away for later on the programme, but, you know, people thought that policing in this country, what they'd term as policing by consent, you know, gave people kind of a safer feeling. It's a weird one, right? Because the police are meant to protect you, but in so many countries in the world, you need protection from the police. So that was one thing that we again, I'm not saying the police have been amazing, but what I'm saying is people would be like, it's worse elsewhere. Like, especially for a black person, they might be like, Now, the third, well, I don't know what number I'm on. The fourth thing was the economy, and the major thing was the economy. So the UK was meant to provide such a stable economy. The strength of the pound was always going to be world leading. And so if you worked in this country, especially for people who were immigrants, you could provide a better life for yourself down the road if you want to go back to wherever you came from, retire there, or you've got family back there and you want to send money home. That was the major thing. It was like, okay, if I go and work in the UK, it's doubling up if I work where I'm from. So bam, immediately going to buy yourself a house back home in 15, 20 years, go back. Basically was the plan for a lot of people. Obviously what happens, we know what happens, life happens. People end up staying, their kids want to stay, and suddenly the plan changes. But that was the premise of it. Now, if you're not giving me those things, especially, again, I hate to put myself into the immigrant mindset. Obviously, I was born and raised here, but you still feel like Britain was meant to be setting you up for something. Like, you're going to give them 40 years of work and they're going to give you, bam, retirement money, pension, whatever it might be, so that you're stable and you can take yourself through to the end. We've been discussing it in recent weeks, so I won't go back into it. It just doesn't feel like that's there anymore. So where else can we go? Where else is going to give us that opportunity? And immediately in the cost of living crisis, people are just looking bottom line, especially people that can work from home. So people are going, I could stay in Salford or Birmingham, but I can do the same job in Bali, you're saying. And to live there, my rent's like £100 a month and I'm earning same salary.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Bali, because I was in Bali a couple of months ago and I saw just that. The amount of cafes that you drive past where you just see any man just with his laptop just there for 4 or 5 hours working, and afterwards, right, laptop down, I'm going to the beach.
Yeah.
And all they're doing, when we spoke to, all they're doing is digital jobs. They're not rich from it, but they're earning enough money to live a good life in Bali. Do you know what I mean? I've seen that in real time. Sorry, I cut you off there.
To be honest, I wanted to go back to something that Marvyn said, actually, just because I think it's important. I don't know which, I wanted to pick on both things you said. Firstly, just to talk about South Africa. And the second one was I wanted your view on when you said that I am the place, because I thought that was really interesting. But I'll start with South Africa and why you found it so engaging, because on my journeys to South Africa, I feel a lot of pain in that country. Like, Africa is a place that I would love to live, and I constantly think, especially when I see you in West Africa, boy, I'm like, listen,
it's nice out there.
It's time for me to. And when you asked the question at the start, immediately I thought of like white beaches, in Senegal, or going to Ghana, and all the things that I mentioned about Great Britain. Really, my question is, when will Africa deliver those things? If Africa delivers the stronger economy, if Africa delivers the best healthcare, the best schools and education,
why not?
It's time. It's time for people, Black Americans. I know. I'm not sure they'd be that gratefully received, or nor would I. Nor would I. I'm not saying that. I'm saying just, I don't think they want the culture of their country to change by loads of foreigners coming in because it's a beautiful place. But if it did offer all of those things right at the front line and cutting edge, and it looks to be progressing in that way over the next few decades, it could easily go that way, particularly as Africa may have one of the strongest workforces in terms of labour in the world, just population size. So their economies will grow. And if they're producing, and if you can go there and make money and open your own business, and that for me is the place. I'm just saying, anywhere, but people are going to choose wherever. But like I say, when I see you out there, I'm like, okay, it's nice time. When I see our friend Ade enjoying in Ghana and stuff, I'm like, okay, it's time. Beautiful countries, right? So for me, it would probably be that area, even though I'm Caribbean. But when I went to South Africa, I felt you feel the pain. Yeah. Such a segregated society. It's mad. If you haven't been there, it's just like you go to basically what would be a white middle class area in England. Like, that's essentially what they are. People driving BMWs and Mercedes and whatnot. Then you go to, the predominantly poor Black areas. I went to townships and stuff like that. The difference is, you just feel the remnants of apartheid. It's undeniable.
Do you feel it?
And that's what I wanted to ask Marvyn about.
No, you definitely feel it. I think there's two things. I think one, in terms of the low income families, the people that are in townships, there is still a system of living that is a quality of living. Like, I think the best things about coming from a Caribbean background, for example, is family and community. And that's not something whiteness has ever really truly developed. They don't know that. They don't know about the idea of like your cousins are your cousins because it's your mum's friend's children. They don't know about having 30 people at a birthday that are all seeing you grow from your life. That's a different experience. So I feel like a core part of the diaspora experience is that community part. And that exists. Many of those people are still in a form of happiness because they actually have people in their lives. And this is why I say I think we've been sold this idea of like money and like buying stuff. But that stuff doesn't yield the same when you go there. Now, there is also still a Black middle class in South Africa. I met tons of them. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of highly intelligent, affluent people. I still had some of the best experiences in my life with those people. And it's like, yeah, they do have BMWs, but everybody's living 6 months from destruction also, just like we are here. But they have weather, they have lifestyle, their food is healthier than ours, their people are much more connected to what our values are, which is more about spirituality, African spirituality, than it is about like, you know, making it. It's a different type of thing. Like even when you're around them and you're like, I got given a South African name, which is Mandla, which means strength in Zulu. And it's like, even little things like that, your last name having a meaning. Oh, you're from Durban. So you're from, and your family is this. I went to Antigua and my mother's maiden name and my grand's name means something. Oh, that's the police officer from over there. He was chief of police and they're a political family and they got people in entertainment, media, and da-da-da-da-da. We don't have that here. So when I talk about the happiness chart, it's those things that move the needle. I don't even, like the Rand is not a stable currency. It's probably fluctuated between £1 to 20 to 19 to 24 Rand in the last 4 years that I've been going back and forth. It's not stable. And it has also been exploited on a global scale as well, which is another problem. But you can make money there. Like you can create a life for yourself there in a stable way, and it is relatively safe. There's just certain customs that you got to get used to in terms of like, you may live in a compound, you may live behind a really big wall. You do have to have security. There are armed guards places. People who have Ferraris have an armed truck following them behind them. There is security issues.
That's not unique to South Africa though.
It's not unique. It's not like right now. It's so funny, because I got bought a Rolex for my birthday, which is the sickest present in the world, and I couldn't enjoy it long because my first thought was, is that I don't want things that people feel they have to take my arm off for. I just don't want it. I could have afforded that over any time in the last 15 years, but for me, I'd never carry things that I feel are of like commercial value, because the people that want stuff are willing to do whatever to take it. It just is like, it's not, for me energetically, it doesn't make me feel powerful. It doesn't make me feel good feeling like I got to be ready and watching people move. And I think like, whenever I'm building happiness, I'm building it from a place of very simple existence. So this era now, I just turned 40 this week, is like about removing clutter. Like I want to get rid of things. I don't want things. I don't want bills that tie me into this experience. I want to remove as many of my direct debits as humanly possible and like not have stuff. Like be okay with not having Prime, Now TV and Netflix running every single month, watching 10% of one of those platforms and feeling like I need all of these premium. I have Discovery. I have 4 subscriptions to watch TV. I don't have time. So it's just little stuff like that I'm just trying to, for me, that's why I say I have to be that place. If I'm not calm and if I'm not someone that can be anchored and can't anchor my family, to hell with the rest of it. It doesn't make any difference. I can provide all the money in the world, and I did. I provided things. Anything material existed. No, there's been no wants from anyone around me for years. But actually, I wasn't peaceful because of how hard I was working doing those things. I become destabilized because now I become someone that I need other things to like balance me out because I'm so tired. I'm working so hard. I was doing, in pandemic, I was doing 6 to 7 days a week, easy. And I would work from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. Just like, there was so much to do. And everyone was just taking the stuff. But the second I said, I'm not okay, there was no one. Like literally nobody. 3 people pulled me off the ledge. They weren't even around me at the time. They had to come back into my life to be like, yeah, we were looking at you like, what the fuck you doing? So I'm not even mad at no one for that. That's my lesson. That's the gift that I got. And I managed to get it before I demised. Yeah. But I think the most important thing is that when we talk about where we are, how we're being where we are starts first. Because if you're manic here, you won't get there and find peace. You will try and look for things that you have to try and do. You've got to find peace first. Then you go into those places and you've got to adopt their ways. Coming in is like Mr. Money Man and being like, yo, get me a drink and like, what's this house and clean my house and cook me food. And like, that's whiteness, bro. That's mad. Like I went there respectful. The one compliment that I got that really stuck with me is that you came and you listened for about a year before you created anything. People don't understand the value of that. So I built trust and respect before I came in with like, yeah, we're dope black and this is what we're going to be doing. They're like, we're African. We don't know what you're talking about. Because blackness in African is different.
Yes, yeah.
It's true, it's true.
Well, just kind of final point before we move on. Do we get a sense, guys, that...
You haven't even answered.
Where you going, bruv? Can I come?
So as you both referenced, I've been to the African continent 9 times in the last... No, that's a lie, not 9 times. 7 times in the last 5 years. I love it there. And I think you use the phrase, I feel at peace there. And when I'm there, I'm a very basic person. Just give me a beach and some waves to watch. I'm really weirdly obsessed with waves.
He says that, guys.
No, it's true. It's
Wait until
true.
you see this guy's hotel room when he goes to Africa talking about I'm a basic guy.
There is that.
Doing cartwheels.
There is that. But for me, I found just the basics made me very, very happy. And here I've got a lot, to your point. I've tried to practice minimalism a lot, just stripping away the things that I don't really need. And when you're on the African continent and you're where I've been, you realize you don't need much. You don't need much. And my UK money goes, as we all know, goes a long way there.
Even your clothes change.
They do. They
stopped buying trainers.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I was like, what's the point?
It's true. There's no need.
Yeah.
So for me, I would like to. Kenya's my happy place. I love Kenya. Mombasa is it's a special place with a great energy that works for me. In my ideal world, that would be where I would settle. But I've got a partner now, so I have to be considerate of that as well.
Yeah.
Now, some people would say, well, no, you should work out, make you happy first, and that's what matters. But I've committed to somebody else, so I have to bear that in mind too. She might not want to. Do you know what I mean? Move to Kenya.
There are other places.
Do you know what it is? One of the reasons that I think this is probably an interesting topic for now is World War III is unlikely to start. But
You say that. You say that.
You said that about COVID. And we're like, it'll be over in a bit.
But I don't feel like the world, sorry, I shouldn't say the world. In kind of like Western Europe, I'm not sure people are kind of too tough into the big political machinations, of world politics where, our world leader stamps his foot down, this person threatens these, we're going to use these weapons and they're not going to do that because there'll be retaliation and allies and all, I'm not sure people are really into that and into being led into that as they were 50 or 60 years ago. I think now a lot of people are going to be like, you want to go and fight a war? Cool. That's on you. That's you. That's not me. Just because it's your country and your citizenship. I don't think people are like, I can understand it would be very different if it was like there's soldiers at the border and they want to invade our country.
Now,
yeah. In the sense that Ukrainians just were like, women and children get out of here, men just pick up whatever you can, it's time to go. I still think that would happen if we had, enemies at the door or enemies at the gate, I think the phrase is. But I don't see it in that way when we're talking about hitting missiles and blah, blah, blah. And I actually think if this country, like missiles were going to come from another country, a lot of people would be like, it's time to get out of here. They wouldn't be like stand and fight. It would be like, where can we go?
I think black people would be like, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Well, so the point you're making, that why wait for that to happen?
No. My point is that I think it's just a poignant time for people to be like, where would my place be if this wasn't my place?
Sure.
I know people are calling us non-patriotic, and go back and listen to the flag football shirt episode if you want to. Yeah. But that's how I feel at the moment. I think people saw the news and went, you got your Jamaican passport? Are you ready
to go?
Pay attention.
Let me just pack that one bag.
We're being dragged into this conversation of whether we would, It's so absurd to feel like a country which has never really honoured us properly is asking us to contribute anything more than our taxes. Like, it's mad. I don't even think I'm getting value for my taxes, let alone my life. So I would be the first to be, but I would already have a flight ready to go and I'm taking my family, let's go. It's not even a question, am I going to war? And anyone that suggests that men validity needs to be in war is the most bizarre exercise I've ever heard. I'm not going. I don't. If I see you two there, shouts to you, man. I'm not going.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one.
You don't seem sure, bro.
But listen,
no. I'm not fine for no country.
But that's aside from the point, because that's us talking about physically being there on the front line almost. But I do feel like just standing back from it now, where people are like, it's almost like that's not my prime minister and this is not in my name. You guys want to go and fight and do your thing.
That's on you.
That's on you. Is becoming and will become in the next few weeks, I think, a stronger theme of society, because I think we're going to see some big movements done by politicians without us having voted for it, without us having any say, and people are going to start definitely turning their back on the decisions being made. So anyway, we'll talk about it when we get to it.
We will indeed, and we may get there quicker than we think. Unfortunately,
next week, bro.
It could be really soon.
If the next episode's coming live from Kenya,
Wow.
you're all welcome.
then you know what we made in terms of our decision. Yeah,
I'll grab the
indeed.
cameras.
Indeed. The final section coming up next, we're talking about Will Smith. So we don't have a talk me or talk this week. We haven't got time for it anyway because basically Hugh was late.
Sorry, guys.
And we've dropped a couple of topics from
Very late. Was the appropriate language, just to-
it is very late. It's probably more accurate. Yeah, you're right. But we do want to have just a quick chat on something that some of you guys might have seen, something a bit more lighthearted. Will Smith is back on the scene. I don't know if you guys saw, he was performing at Coachella.
Getting ready for Bad Boys 4, 3, 4.
Sorry?
Getting ready for
Yeah,
Bad Boys
they've been
4.
filming Bad Boys
I don't
4,
know. Is it 4, 5, 6? I don't know what
I think
number
it's
they're
4.
on now. Is it
Yeah,
4
yeah.
now? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. He's back on the scene, gentlemen. And I thought it'd be worth just having a chat about whether post-slap, the world is ready to receive Will Smith again now. Go on.
I was just going to say it's an interesting one because I'm not. I have held off. King Richard, right? You know, he won the Oscar for Best Actor for portraying the father of Serena and Venus Williams. And I was ready for that film. I was like, this is going to... And I love Will Smith, man. 100% stand. The first album I had, Big Willie style, like from day one, right? He's been my guy. There are things he does that I definitely disagree with, by the way. But generally speaking, I've always been a fan of his. And I was ready for that. And I just thought, this is going to be the defining, Will Smith moment. But I didn't watch it before the Oscars. When he did that, when he slapped Chris Rock, still I haven't watched it. Still I haven't watched since that day a single thing with Will Smith in. I was so annoyed with him, so angry with him, so disappointed in him. And
What's the foundation for your disappointment?
I don't know how deep we go on this podcast, but I talk about it a lot. We spoke about it a little bit last week with J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar's situation. That's escalated this week, and it looks like we're going to get a lot of good rap out of it. But again,
a lot of rap, but yeah.
That I didn't really, I didn't like to see the stereotypes of black men, perpetrated on that global scene. So when J. Cole apologized to Kendrick, I was happy because to see a black man just say, look, this isn't me. This doesn't create a peaceful harmony for me and my spiritual well-being. I'm just going to step back from it and making that decision. Who cares if people call me weak or soft? I thought that was a good step because we need to show that we're just normal human beings. Hyper-masculinity is killing, in lots of cases, black men because they don't want to back down from disrespect. But to see a black man slap another black man, and we're talking about two of the most famous black men in the world, I know that there were people, racists across the world, who were like, see, put a tux on them, put them in a movie, make them multi-millionaires. They're not different. They're not different to these kids on the corner. Like, it hurt me in such a powerful way. I can't describe it.
Was that
honestly.
more about your relationship to him or your relationship to racists?
No, I think I think it was specifically about him being a probably one of the biggest representatives of black American men in the world. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. Like, you are going to be held up, whether you like it or not, as not just a great actor or musician or celebrity, but you will always be seen through that prism of you're a black man. And it was wild, bro. Like, you can't, it's the Oscars. It's like the last place in the world that you think there's going to be a bar fight, and it stunned the world, as we know. And I just thought, fuck, why us again? Like, why us?
No, justification at all?
Any justification for it?
Was there a part of you that was like,
Before you answer that, what was your position? Because at the time, we disagreed on it like vehemently. And I'm the opposite to you in that I was never a fan of Will Smith. But I actually wasn't happy.
Started watching all of his films when he slapped Chris Rock. Why haven't Sky done a Will Smith special this
I'm
year?
like, I want more. What's going on? Whereas the slap for me, I wasn't happy about it, but I wasn't uncomfortable with it either. But I take your reasons as to why you were. But what was your stance on the slap? First of all, we haven't got.
I would slap somebody though. So this is I think this is a duality of just like, I think we don't accept our shadow side much. We pretend. I would slap somebody for sure. If you're talking mad to my partner in front of me, and he's been, by the way, the full context of that slap is not only has he been mocking Jada for about 5 years, he also asked Jada out on a date when they were still married because he thought they weren't together anymore. And she was like, no, bruv. So then when you continue...
She finally said no to someone.
Well, see what I'm saying? See that? That's wild.
Will, that's not wild, bro. Well, we listen to this. No,
it is though.
That's not wild, bro.
Whatever their social agreement is in their relationship. I think it is
wild. Sorry to cut him off. I think it is wild because I think it plays into why I agree with you in that no matter how much she is being mocked, and I will say a lot of it I think she brings on herself.
Yeah.
This is after the slap though. So let's not take it out of context because a lot of the mockage for Jada came after the slap. A lot of the relationship revelations, the red table stuff, but a lot more revelations came after the slap, and I think it became much more accepted. Like, I think for the people that were like, it wasn't that bad, she became a bit of a figure of.
It was worse afterwards.
It was almost like she's, you know, the whole situation was over the top, and everything that she says now, people take her to be like almost like
maybe they are.
I don't know what a black Karen is.
It was a very intense period of time with a lot of information that we specifically didn't ask for. But inherently, them opening their lives has given us a window into the truth of how all of us are existing. Many of us pretend as that we are living this pristine existence and we are above reproach. We all have little pockets that we're ashamed of that we don't want the world to know. They've opened a version of that in a controlled fashion, and it got out of hand. Fine, they got it wrong. Absolutely fine. But also hearing what life is like at that altitude is a gift in many ways. It's just fine. It is what it is. The fact that they chose to have an open relationship, I kind of get why they would at that particular point. Now I listen to them and I understand what happened at her 40th birthday. This is all extra stuff, but I'm okay with them sharing that information. I'm not against reprimanding somebody for dishonoring my family in front of me. I think that's wild to do that anyway and continue to do it over and over again when you've been warned to your face and on the phone. So then you continue that. I agree with your part. Like, I don't want that. That's mess and noise. I think this rap beef is mess and noise. I don't think it's even really coming from a true place of any true value to anybody. But like, it's a happening. But for me, Will Smith is an icon because he's shown over 40 years that he can be incredibly good at a multidisciplinary arena and do things at the highest level. And I feel the film is really good. It's really worth watching on its own level of entertainment.
Marvin, listen, I know what you're saying, but we can't put ourselves in Will Smith's shoes. But if you were...
I think he's tried to do it for us.
Let me put it this way. I know that you would be annoyed and you would want to reprimand someone for disrespecting your family. But in a particular forum, you would say, let me just wait till we get off stage.
Maybe
this brother's got it coming to him, but
you wouldn't
jump up on stage and slap him.
No, but the counter would be
still slapping. But
the counter would be
off camera, bro.
You flagged yourself. The Oscars is a global show. You've embarrassed my wife in front of the world. So why should I privately reprimand you?
Because of the bigger connotations that go with it. Did he think about his own legacy? Did he think about his family? Did he think about his kids and how they'll be perceived?
But why should he? At that moment, all he's thinking is, you are disrespecting my wife in front of the world. I'm protecting my wife at all costs. I can worry about my legacy afterwards. I don't want to get that in the mix. We've got a rap in a minute. Yeah. But right about now, I'm raging because you are embarrassing my wife in front of the world. Whether she deserved it or not is a separate question. But I don't think he's thinking about maybe afterwards because it's a bad look for black people.
Career.
No, not even. Like, I'm saying just about his immediate family. Like, Marvin might say, I'm going to get up and slap a guy because he disrespected my wife. But if Marvin goes to jail for 5 years and his family aren't getting money or he can't take care of them, he's going to look in the mirror and say, right, I wish I could have held that
But that's the privilege that Will Smith has.
I know he's got 300, 400 million, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but what I want to get to, because we haven't got a wrap, is the question of legacy and whether we think that slap will be the thing that in 10 years' time, people think of more than Men in Black, more than Fresh Prince, more than anything he's achieved.
Not more than it, no. But as Jim Carrey said the day after, where he was like, if I was Chris Rock, I'd sue him for £250 million. And he gave a reason, which I was like, yeah, you're right. He said, when Chris Rock dies and those obituaries come out, that will be in there for Chris Rock's life. that will be a moment that's recorded for him just being slapped by Will Smith. So when Will Smith dies and we look at his legacy and all the great things he's done, and for me, I still have to say that he's done great things, but that moment's going to be in there. And it tarnishes what is a brilliant legacy and a fantastic career.
In theory.
In a small, no, just even in a very small way. You know, I'm not saying it's going to ruin everything else.
But will someone talk about his wife again on an award show?
Maybe.
I doubt it.
Maybe. I mean, I can't. Are you telling me that's
for me was a crutch?
No. But are you telling me that
in front of Will Smith? That's the thing.
Are you telling
people
me
mock her in comedy
Are you telling me
shows.
that there's been no material made from this? Because
With him in the room. With him in the room.
I don't even know.
Ooh.
What are you worried about? He's going to draw a gun this time. What are you worried about?
I would question whether any comic has made jokes about Jada.
Listen to me. If Ricky Gervais was presenting the year after, do you think he would have left it out? Like, and if Will Smith is in the room, you think he would have said, "Come on, slap me," innit? It's gonna be, you're gonna make me even more famous.
Nah, I don't think so.
I don't know.
No one wants to get punched in the face. That's a barrier
not
for
a
many
good
people.
look.
Listen, if you think you can handle Will Smith, you're not scared. What are you scared of?
I would. I think if I was
On a side note, by the way, and I also love Will Smith, but Will Smith needs to stay off social media. I hate to tell people what to do, but he has accomplished so much. We're talking about legacy.
Crazy.
He has done so many things. At his big age, why is he making social media content?
Some of these motivational talks are a little bit. I'm a bit like.
I don't even mind that, but it's like
mate.
the frivolous, silly stuff. I'm like, you're Will Smith, bro.
You know what's funny?
You're
we've
Will
never
Smith.
met him, and as soon as we've met him, we don't like him. Do you understand like how
Say that
crazy
again.
that
As soon
is?
as he
We've
revealed
never
himself.
met Will, and then now we've met him. None of us like him.
No, I like him still.
Well, you just told him to get off social media, and you can't. Watch the
No,
films that he did.
but listen.
What do you like?
I'm annoyed at him. But it's like a family thing, you know, like that.
Yeah.
I
love you, but
I haven't got over that moment yet, but I know I will. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
I will. I'm still in
Watch
that,
the film, bruv. It's a good film.
I'm still in that painful period.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't want to watch that film and think you slapped Chris Rock. Do you get me?
No,
so
you forget
I might
that.
have to watch a Wild Wild West.
And the one thing, as well, allow
Before I
it.
get to
And the one thing as well. Now, just to conclude, is that the slap took away from the award and the film itself, because no one chatted about the film afterwards. Now, some would say it made the film more famous because it was attached to that moment.
Nah, you killed it.
Do you know-
Someone's dad. You ruined the legacy of someone's dad's film. I wouldn't talk to him again if I was the.
Yeah.
And haven't they
Serena
fallen
should
out?
have
I
been
think
pissed.
they've fallen out with that as well. So yeah, we got
But that's what I mean. I know we got to win, but he was there, having depicted in a fantastic way. I hear the life of a black man whose personality and charisma has affected the lives of so many others because of he created two talismanic athletes in his family, two of his daughters who kind of led the way and inspired many other black women. You're there to kind of get best actor at the Oscars as a black actor on top of it. You've won that as a black male actor and you're portraying him. And in the middle of all of that, which should just be success after success, it should just be hitting you as a black person. Wow.
Is it not
that one thing hurt me, bro. It's a dagger in the heart.
Is there not another layer of narrative that's like, well, he may have thought the film was about a dad who at all costs protected his daughters to get them to the top.
So you're saying he was method acting?
Well, no. I'm just saying he might have related.
Acting, yeah.
He might have related to actually. This is a guy that's protecting the woman in his life at all costs.
I wouldn't be
I
surprised
don't
if
know.
energetically that had a role to play.
Yeah,
He did
yeah.
say that he was in that spirit and that mode of protection.
yeah.
And if you think about the monologues and stuff that Richard did and the things he did, it's very, very similar energy. But cool, when you're inauthentic, your authenticity will arrive at some point. You cannot make it get to the top by pretending. So at
some point it comes
this is
out.
why I'd rather have less but be authentic all the time than acquire things by being inauthentic and then they get taken from me, like as Dave Chappelle says. Yeah, bro.
Marvyn, you're a G.
Thank you, man.
Mate, that was
joining
such a
us.
pleasure. I'm
We're gonna
sorry.
do another one, though. It's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
No, please come back.
I missed the football chat.
Can you move from where you live? It's really fun.
It is really
This house
far.
is around here,
Oversleeping and living that far away is a bad
not a good
combination.
combination, is it?
But,
Good, bruv.
but as I wasn't here for the football chat, just to say, bottled it.
We'll chat next week.
What's your support?
United.
He's United. I know. Allow it. We ain't got time. You'll come back. You'll come back. You'll come back. In the meantime, please subscribe to the podcast. Whisper It Loudly. We're on YouTube. We are on all your favourite podcast outlets as well. We're on social media. Go to our social media. Leave us a comment. Leave us topic ideas to discuss. Go follow Marvyn. We'll put his details in the description below and all that jazz. Until next week. Peace.